Humble Nicolas Sarkozy enters prison after heartfelt goodbye to distraught-looking Carla Bruni. Crowds gaze on as ex-French president begins 5-year tenure following farewell visit from his sons. Nicolas Sarkozy waved to hordes of supporters as he entered prison this morning to begin his 5-year sentence after having an emotional goodbye with his wife Carla Bruni. The former French president, 70, arrived at La Santé prison on Tuesday morning, with reporters hearing criminals chanting from their cells, "Welcome Sarkozy, Sarkozy's here." Sarkozy's conviction ends years of judicial fights over charges that his 2007 campaign collected millions in funding from Libyan leader Muammar Gaddafi, who was eventually ousted and killed during the Arab Spring upheavals. "I'm not terrified of prison. I'll have my head held high, including at the prison gates," Sarkozy told La Tribune Dimanche daily prior to his detention. Sarkozy will be facing a difficult time in Paris's La Santé prison and is expected to be detained in a 9-square-meter cell in the jail's isolation section. His lawyer, Jean-Michel Darrois, said he has several pullovers as jails might be cold and some earplugs as there could possibly be a lot of noise. Isolation, like what he's going to go through, is hard, but he got himself prepared. Speaking outside the Paris prison seconds after the former French president entered, Sarkozy's lawyer stated his legal team has already made a plea for parole, with their mission being pull him out as swiftly as possible. More than 100 people stood outside the jail this morning, after his son Louis, 28, called on fans to rally in favor of his father in the high-end Paris area where the former French president lives. Another son, Pierre, called for a message of love. "Nothing else, please," as Sarkozy prepared to begin his prison term. He released a statement on social media reinforcing his claims that he is an innocent guy and stated he feels a great sorrow for France. "As I prepare to cross the walls of La Santé prison, my thoughts go out to the French people of all walks of life and opinions," he said. "I want to tell them with my unshakable strength that it is not a former president of the Republic who is being locked up this morning. It is an innocent person." He added, "I feel tremendous sympathy for France, which finds itself humiliated by the display of a vengeance that has pushed hatred to an unparalleled level. I have no doubt the truth will triumph, but the price to pay will have been devastating." Supporters screamed, "Nicolas! Nicolas," as he left his home and went into the car that would transport him to jail after sharing a farewell kiss with Bruni, and waved goodbye to the audience. Following the large gathering of support for his father this morning, Louis took to X to thank people who appeared outside the prison. "The sights of that morning are forever ingrained in his consciousness, as they are in ours," he wrote. "No one can comprehend how deeply your presence inhabits and supports us. Our father is an innocent man." Sebastian Cowell, who heads up the high-profile La Santé prison in Paris, told RTL Radio, he will be able to visit the exercise yard on his own twice a day. He will have access to an activity room while on his own, and he will be alone when inside his jail cell. Sarkozy had informed Le Figaro he would carry 3 books for his first week behind bars, including Alexandre Dumas, The Count of Monte Cristo, the narrative of a man unjustly imprisoned who plots his revenge against those who betrayed him. At the end of last week, he was met at the Élysée Palace by President Emmanuel Macron, who told reporters on Monday it was normal that on a human level I should receive one of my predecessors in that setting. In a further sign of official support for the ex-president, Justice Minister Gerald Darmanin said he would go to visit him in prison as part of his job in ensuring Sarkozy's safety and the effective operation of the facility. "I cannot be oblivious to a man's sorrow," he added. The arrest makes him the first former French leader to be incarcerated since Nazi collaborator Marshal Philippe Pétain after World War II. While Sarkozy was found guilty of conspiring with close associates to organize the fraud in 2007, he was acquitted of personally receiving or spending the funds. He has constantly denied wrongdoing and termed the prosecution politically motivated, alleging judges were seeking to embarrass him. He has appealed, but the nature of his punishment means he must go to jail until his appeal process plays out. The former president has already been convicted in a separate corruption case, in which he was found guilty of seeking to gain secret information from a judge in return for career favors, serving that term by wearing an electronic tag around the ankle. Sarkozy's isolation unit at La Santé prison in Paris, which in the past has jailed leftist militant Carlos the Jackal and Panamanian leader Manuel Noriega, Features captives are housed in single cells and kept apart during outside activities for security reasons. Conditions are similar to the rest of the prison. Cells range 100 to 130 square feet and, following renovations, now contain private showers. Sarkozy will have access to a television at a monthly price of €14 and a landline telephone. The decision to arrest a former president has generated uproar among Sarkozy's political supporters and the radical right. However, the verdict represents a shift in France's approach to white-collar crime, following reforms implemented under a previous socialist government. In the 1990s and 2000s, many guilty politicians evaded prison altogether to counter impressions of lawlessness. French judges are increasingly issuing provisional execution orders, ordering penalties to begin immediately, even as appeals are pending, legal experts and politicians told Reuters. Far-right leader Marine Le Pen has been prohibited from competing for politics under the same provisional execution provision, pending an appeal early next year. According to an October 1st Aleb poll for BFM TV, 58% of French respondents believe the verdict was impartial, and 61% favored the decision to send Sarkozy to jail without waiting for the appeal. President Emmanuel Macron, who had good relations with Sarkozy and his wife Carla Bruni, claimed on Monday he had met Sarkozy prior to his detention. Justice Minister Gerald Darmanin, who is close to Sarkozy, said France in a radio he will go and visit the former president.